really sleepy. I've had a long day, so I hope I can talk loud enough so you guys can hear me.
We can hear you.
Alright, awesome.
You start.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so how many of you guys bought a laptop like once you started college? Pretty sure a bunch of us. I personally did. Now how many of us like dropped $200, $300, even $400 just on software? I personally spent about $200 buying CAD software, word processing software, and digital like photography software. And these are all made by companies that we hear about every day, like Microsoft, Adobe, and AutoCAD. That's right, AutoCAD. And so many of these companies, yeah, sorry. So as I was saying, these are all open source. These companies create what are known as proprietary or closed source software. What closed source software is that a large corporation keeps their software coding in-house. So it's not open to the public, and they create it and they make it. What I'm proposing, however, is that open source software, which is when the code is available to the public and many people are able to collaborate on it and work on it, will drive greater innovations for software. So, and I will prove this to you with 3 points. One, when we use open source collaboration, more people are able to work on it, so more brain power is put into working out the bugs. 2, open source software is not created with any profit in mind. It's created with the idea to have the best end user experience. And lastly, I will dispel a major concern regarding open source software that many critics bring up. So first, when open source, when software is open source, many people are able to collaborate. I'm sure many of you have heard of WordPress. It's a very popular blogging software that literally millions of web bloggers use. And according to Tripwire magazine, it is the #1 blogging software as of 2012, versus some blogging softwares that you have to pay for, such as Joomla. And many of these softwares are created with a very high level, with high level standards, such as programs like GIMP, Audacity, Notepad, and Blender. And these all compete with programs such as Photoshop, Fruity Loops, which is a very popular audio editing software, and AutoCAD. My next point is that once again, open source software is not created with any profit in mind. So many times like I said, we end up spending huge amounts of money on things like Microsoft Word, Adobe Photoshop, and the list goes on. When we have programs just like GIMP, Notepad, ++, and Blender, which do the exact same job and even give a better end user experience, oftentimes. And lastly, my third point, oftentimes critics bring up the point that open source software, because it's open to the public, it's very accessible to hackers and is very vulnerable. However, according to PC Magazine, writer Michael Muchmore, Mozilla Firefox has been rated third for the past 3 years running in web security. So Mozilla Firefox is a open source web browser which is the second most used software web browser currently. So in conclusion, we should invest more in open source software to help drive that innovation. Thank you.
Hello. All right, your claim is buried in the introduction. It takes you 2 minutes to really get to the point that you're trying to make, and I think you need to be a little bit more forceful in getting to that point. A third of the speech is gone by the time we get through to what it is you're actually talking about. The secondary points are labeled, and they're pretty clear, although the third one is not really labeled as a claim. It's actually a rebuttal argument, and it doesn't advance the main proposition. It might be an important point. It might require you, though, to redefine what your claim actually is. You need to talk about the controversy on this a little bit, because I'm not sure what the dispute is. I'm sure that there's a place for open source software. The question is, does that mean that there's no place for the closed source, or that the closed source presents some particular problem? To be honest, if I'm sitting here and I can get something for free and it's available to everybody, why would I be paying the $200 that you paid for all of those programs? There's got to be some explanation as to why those products continue to sell despite the availability of the other kinds of things. If the only argument is that there's a barrier to people being willing to use open source things because of their fear of hacking, then your argument ought to be that hacking is unlikely to occur and that open source material is safe for people to use. That ought to be your argument. Your first point is that there's more innovation. I believe that there's a possibility for more innovation, but I don't get anything that suggests that that's true. The only example that you have that really deals with those issues on the second point is Mozilla Firefox, and you don't tell us what it has over the other kinds of browsers, for instance. You list a whole bunch of variety of open source things that you say do the same thing as the proprietary software does. And again, I don't know enough about any of those things to say there's a difference. However, I can tell you the one open source software that I use is not anywhere near as easy to use or as convenient to use as the proprietary one. That is, Open Office versus Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is very intuitive. I don't have to have any special tools, and there are things I can do in Excel that I'm supposed to be able to do in Open Office. It just doesn't work the same way. Now, that doesn't mean, it might just be that I'm stupid, all right? But stupid people need to be able to use the software too, and that might be the advantage that's going on there. So you need to make an argument that shows that there is an advantage, that they get more innovation. You just say it, and I don't think that you prove it enough, and I think there needs to be more on that particular point. Like I said, it felt like you were kind of meandering on the subject there, and I think that that was a little problematic. So the first 2 points don't really make generalizations, they just give descriptions. The third point, I think, does make a generalization, but it's only got one piece of, one example to support your conclusion. I think it's a pretty good example, but I'm not sure that it's representative of all the open source codes out there that are available. All right, and I imagine that that would be one of the places that the respondent will be looking for arguments. All right, thank you.